Europe is being belittled and turned into an object of US power politics. The US is therefore no longer a partner sharing the same values, but an opponent of the existing rules-based order. Harsh analysis, not from me, but from Roderich Kiesewetter, a German CDU politician and a foreign policy expert. I was able to speak to him on Sunday. Is he right with this view? Well, let's have a look. In his national security strategy, US President Donald Trump states that he wants to help Europe correct its current trajectory. Sounds like an ally? Not really. The US President wants to cultivate resistance to Europe's current trajectory within European nations by supporting patriotic parties that basically want to help dismantle the European Union. In other words, weakening the EU is part of the strategy. Trump also wants to end the, in his words, perception of NATO being a perpetually expanding alliance, and he wants strategic stability with Russia. So how did Moscow react? They loved it. The spokesman of the Kremlin, Dmitry Peskov, said the US national security strategy was largely consistent with Russia's vision. And by the way, the US didn't criticize any free speech issues in Russia, but said that the EU was engaging in censorship of free speech and suppression of political opposition. Understandable that Vladimir Putin must have been quite happy. Carl Bildt, former Prime Minister of Sweden, dryly remarked, "The only part of the world where the new security strategy sees any threat to democracy seems to be Europe. Bizarre." Bizarre indeed. And then there's also Elon Musk, who has called for a head-on attack on the European Union after it dared to impose a €120 million fine against his company X for lack of transparency. He then posted this on his network. The EU should be abolished and sovereignty returned to individual countries so that governments can better represent their people. He also compared the EU with the Nazis and agreed that the EU was something like the Fourth Reich. So what does all of this mean? It means that the European Union may in fact be facing the greatest challenge in its history, and it's confronted with enemies who want to destroy the European integration from within and from without. We need new narratives, new compelling stories in order to defend ourselves from the radical forces that aim for destruction. For Europeans, that means, are we going to stand up for our values? Are we going to invest more in our defense and military? Are we really clear when it comes to supporting Ukraine against Russia? I'm optimistic that we can be. You too?